All right, so welcome everyone. I'm Anne Marie Wilson. This is Leonard Wilson. I do most of the talking, but he might answer questions as well. And we are here to tell about the lessons we've learned on our self-publishing journey. So I want to give the caveat up front that this is what we've learned personally or what we have learned from talking to other authors over the years. There are other ways to do it. There are not everything we say will work for everyone. Some things are genre specific. And if you're going to do nonfiction, it is quite a bit different than fiction. We do fiction. So you've decided you're going to self-publish. Do you need to make a publishing company? The answer is, it's up to you. There are a lot of people who publish through Amazon who never make a company. They just publish under their own names. And that is perfectly fine. If you have a company, it can make you look a little more professional to outsiders. The main reason we went ahead and made a company is because we're a partnership, and that's how you legally are a partnership instead of just a person. There are, however, some expenses to making a company. You have to register the LLC with the state and pay at least $150 in franchise taxes every year for Arkansas. I'm not sure what it is in other states. Once you've registered your LLC, you have to get an EIN, or Employee Identification Number, from the IRS. This is free, you do it online, 5 minutes tops. Then once you have your LLC papers and your EIN, then you set up your bank account. The bank will need both of those documents, so you can't go in and do it first. If, on the other hand, you just want to have a pen name, then you don't have to set up a company for that. You just go down to the county courthouse and you register what's called a DBA, or a doing business as. It costs $25 and it's good forever. So you don't have to redo it.
So a question about that.
Sure.
So DBA, would you also need to set up a DBA if you have an LLC?
No, the name of the LLC works as the same as having a DBA.
Okay, so it wouldn't matter if you had any names underneath the same LLC.
Right. We have the LLC, which is Lost in the Wood Press, but we also do have a pen name because we write in 2 different genres. So we went to the courthouse and registered the pen name and as a DBA, but we publish it under the LLC. So once you've got your company, or you're going to publish under your own name, from this point it doesn't matter which route you're going. Once you're getting started, you need to create your brand. And this includes getting a logo. Even if you're just publishing under your name or under a pen name, it's going to be expected in social media and advertising that you have a logo. And so you'll need a logo. It's good to decide what your font is for your brand. You notice this font here with the sort of thorns on it. That is our company font that we use. We did not pay someone to design it. We bought it from a font package, but it's not one you see everywhere. Having a font helps people recognize that it's you. Just like you see the Coca-Cola C, you know it's Coca-Cola. You see, I completely blanked out on other fonts. But even if you're not consciously aware of it, you do recognize the fonts that are associated with companies. And it's good to have a color scheme. Not everything you do has to be in these colors, but pick 1 to 3 colors that you're going to just return to over and over as you create your brand. Ours are red and black.
And if you want to get really into it, you can get set up very specific colors from the color charts you can put on a web design.
Hexadecimal.
Yeah.
A to hexadecimal. Printers have color charts that are for printing colors,
Yeah.
and which don't exactly match your hexadecimals, but
Right. On computer screen, hexadecimal will get, for the color is RGB. That's what the color is. computer displays. For print, it's CMYK. Cyan, magenta, yellow, and I'm not sure what the case is for, but okay. Natural.
So think about, as you're doing your ads in your persona, what your color scheme is, and then what is your persona or platform? A platform is more for non-fiction, is where you'll usually hear that applied. But the persona is the person you're going to present to the world as an author, and it's good if it's pretty close to who you are, because then it's more natural. But it's also a way to keep some part of your life private. And it's a way to play up part of your personality that your writing reflects. Our first 3 books that we put out are horror. Most of the people who know me in real life don't think I'm that horrifying. But when I'm posting on social media and stuff, I'm pulling from I'm doing more horror genre stuff, because that our pen name that we have is Portal Fantasy, so there will be more romance and stuff as we post for the pen name, because those are the personas that we have. Okay, so now you've figured out what your brand is. You need to have an online presence, and you can start this before you publish. In fact, a lot of people recommend getting started before you publish, so that hopefully you've got some people following you and you can announce your publication. Your first thing you need is a website. It does not have to be fancy. It can be just 1 or 2 pages. But you need something that you own, that you can point people to, and then you can put links to all your other stuff on it. You need to be on Facebook. You may personally hate Facebook, but Author U needs to be on Facebook. You should set up an author and or company page, and where you can make announcements and share things. You also can have what's called a group that you can set up for people who read your books or that you think would read your books. So that'd be a readers group. We have company pages. Our readers group we haven't done a lot of work on, but we're getting ready to do some more on that. And some reader groups are very focused on the author that's hosting them. It's all about the author, and those tend to be big name authors. A lot of your beginning authors or independent authors, their reader group, you wouldn't necessarily know that it was for a specific author if you weren't paying attention, because they're more trying to build a community and a worldview. We have fairy tale horror, so we would post memes, fairy tale and horror-ish, and we would get people to talk about their favorite fairy tales and their favorite fantasy horror and things like that. When you're posting to Facebook or any social media, the rule of thumb is only at most a quarter of your posts need to be look at me or buy me posts. You don't want people to come to your page and think it's just sell, 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 sell. So this is where your brand comes in, and the persona that you're presenting. So that way you can do memes, you can do themed days. We have Mirthful Monday where we post a joke. And we have Folklore Friday where we post something from folklore. That sort of thing. A lot of people do Throwback Thursday. It's an easy one. You can look into established hashtags, which can be handy because people are already searching for those, or you can start your own. And while you're on Facebook, you need to also join both writers groups and other authors' readers groups. And the writers groups are helpful because there are other writers who you can get advice from, you can bounce ideas off of, you can promote yourself to. And the readers groups help you know what the audience is looking for, what's hot, what people are interested in, what people love. But be really careful when you are a participant in a readers group that you pay close attention to the rules and you only self-promote if it's allowed. A lot of them will have specific days it's allowed, or the rule that if somebody asks for self-promotion, you can do it. But otherwise, you're not supposed to. Even if your book is like the 100% perfect answer to the question, you don't self-promote because it's a reader space, and you don't want to make people feel like you've invaded it with these capitalistic attitudes. Although, of course, we all are capitalists. Other online presences, Instagram has a very robust reader and writer community. You'll hear people talk about Bookstagram, which is just a community within Instagram. But if you search for hashtag Bookstagram or Bookstagrammer, you'll find authors, you'll find reviewers, you'll find publishers. Twitter, very popular. As I sometimes feel like all my time on Twitter is talking with other authors, and I wish I could contact readers more, but that's okay. YouTube, again, has a section people call BookTube, which is writers, reviewers, publishers. You can have a Pinterest page if it makes sense for your persona. You can do TikTok videos, and you really should set up author pages on both Goodreads and, if you're selling through Amazon, on Amazon. Goodreads is another one that is a reader space, so try to not step on readers' toes with the I am the author. People on Goodreads like to talk to authors because it's cool, but they don't want you to feel like you're trying to take over. It's a reader space. So.
Do you have any recommendations on software for managing multiple personas on any of those platforms?
There are a number that exist, but I don't use any of them, so I can't give you. But there are multiple softwares that will help you schedule your posts across platforms. One thing about Instagram is it's owned by Facebook, and so if you use the Facebook Business Suite to schedule your posts, you can send it to both Facebook and Instagram at the same time, as long as it meets Instagram's rules.
Or if you post on Instagram, you can hit post to Facebook at the same time as well.
Yeah, I've never done it that direction, but that makes
well,
sense.
I'm an artist first, so I do the opposite.
When you do it through the Facebook, and I'm probably the other way too, you can also modify your text slightly. Like, people use hashtags a lot more on Instagram than Facebook, so you could put all the hashtags on Facebook or on Instagram and pick for Facebook or something like that.
Yeah.
But there are other software that will let you do it cross platforms. I haven't used them, so I can't comment on that. So you've got your persona, you've got your online presence, now you're ready to publish. Now the first thing you need to do is to figure out which ancillary skills you either have or want to learn, and which ones you're willing to pay someone else for. Because your big con for being a self-publisher is you are responsible for everything. And any of these things that need to be done, there's someone out there who is willing to do them for you for money. Now, we are really lucky because we're a partnership, and there's a lot of these skills that one or the other of us is pretty good at, so we were able to split it out. But we also recognize what we felt like we needed a professional to help us with. And also in any of these areas, there is a wide range of cost. And cheaper doesn't necessarily mean inferior. It might mean someone starting out, trying to build a business. And expensive doesn't always mean the right thing for you. It just means they can get away with charging more. So figure out which skills you're going to handle, which ones you're going to need to pay someone else to do. Set your budget. And there's a certain amount of back and forth on those two steps as you figure it out. The cover is what, if you're going to spend money on things, the cover is a really good place to invest, unless you happen to be a graphic designer and you feel like you can make a book cover.
Which is different than just being a general graphic designer.
Yeah.
I'm a general graphic designer. I don't do archives.
Right. And you can always give it a try and see, run it by your friends, see how it works, if you feel like that's in your skill set. Everybody says don't judge a book by its cover. Everybody does judge the book by its cover. If you don't have a cover that reaches out and grabs the prospective reader, they won't take a second look. So when you're setting your budget, if you can't handle it yourself or you don't have a partner or somebody who can do it with you, please budget for your cover. Again, wide range of costs. The minimum that I hear most people talk about is the $150 to $200 range. You hear about all the way up to $1,000. And it's okay to not like the cover when your cover designer sends it to you. Well, hopefully you like it a little bit, but it's okay to say, I like it, but, or I wasn't expecting this, can you do that? Part of that relationship is you giving feedback. And if you're talking to someone about doing your cover and they don't ask you any questions about your aesthetic or your book or what you think, then that's probably going to be a very long and laborious process. If you have someone like the designer we use who sends you a survey every single time and says, fill this out, then there's probably going to be a lot less back and forth. And you do want in your contract to say that you get a certain amount of revisions as part of the initial payment. Editing is also very, very important. Even if you are a professional editor, I highly recommend you get someone else to edit your work. And I have friends who are writers and who are editors, and they do not edit their own work, they edit other people's work. There are 3 types of basic editing. You have developmental editors. These are people who help you find your voice, they help you craft your story, they help you find your book. Not everybody needs one of those, but that's what they are. If somebody says they're a developmental editor, that's what they're doing. Copy editors are, they're checking for things like spelling and grammar and consistency, but they're also helping make sure that the story is staying on track to a certain extent. If it takes this weird left turn and it never goes back, then they'll tell you about it. Anything else on copy editing?
Well, I think consistency is the big difference between them and the next.
Right. And then you have your proofreaders who are just looking at spelling, punctuation, grammar, things like that. And you don't have to hire all of those, but know which one you're getting. And when you're hiring an editor, you can send them. Well, don't know any that you can't do this with. Let's just say it's standard. You can send them your first 10 pages and ask them to do a sample edit, and that will give you an idea if they are a good fit for you. Because if their idea of what's good is drastically different than yours, it's going to be very frustrating on both sides, and you aren't going to get your best book out of it. And also, some editors are genre specific. We love our copy editor, but if you were doing a completely different genre than us, then maybe she wouldn't be the right person for you. Okay, so then you need to get your Library of Congress number and your ISBN. The Library of Congress number, the LCCN, a Library of Congress control number. You go to the Library of Congress website, which is on the handout, and you tell them you're a self-publisher and you apply for it. You can apply for it before you publish, which is a good idea because then you can put your number in your book. Libraries want you to have a Library of Congress number if they're going to put your book in their library. The ISBN, which is that barcode on the back of your book, is the international identifier of your book that bookstores use. You can, if you publish through Amazon, Amazon will give you one for free, but we don't recommend that because the ISBN belongs to the publisher. So if you've published it with Amazon and then you decide to publish it from another publisher, you're going to have to get a new ISBN. if Amazon provided it, because that belongs to Amazon. If you provided it yourself, you can publish it in as many publishing places as you want, and it's the same number because you own it. But they are expensive, especially if you only buy one. If you buy one, it's like $250. But you can buy them in bundles of 10, 100, 1,000, or more. You need an ISBN per book, per format. So if you have a book that you do an ebook, a paperback, a hardback, and an audiobook, that's 4 ISBNs for that one title. And so if you're planning to do multiple formats, that 10 bundle will get used up. And they're good forever. They don't expire or anything. So you could publish one book this year and publish another one in 5 years, and as long as you've still got your bundle, you're covered. Okay, so the easiest way to publish as a self-publisher is through Amazon, and that is where we started. And Amazon has ebooks and paperbacks, and that it's called Kindle Direct Publishing. Even when you're setting up for paperback, that's the part of the site it is, Kindle Direct Publishing. And you set it up, they tell you how much it costs to print it, you mark it up, you make your money. With the ebooks, if you put them in Kindle Unlimited, which is the Kindle ebook subscription service, then you get paid by the page read. If you do that, you cannot publish the ebook anywhere else. It has to be Kindle specific or Amazon specific. You can, at the end of the month, you can change it if you want to. It's not forever. Your paperbacks, you can publish them multiple places if you want. And with the Kindle Unlimited, once the first time somebody checks it out, once they've read 10% of your book, you get paid for the page read, including that first 10%. But they basically, that first 10% is making sure that they're really going to read it. Ingramspark is another place like Amazon where you can set up your book and it'll print, and it's print on demand. A lot of people use it, and small bookstores don't like to buy from Amazon, so setting up with Ingramspark gives them a place to buy from. We are in the process of setting up our Ingramspark account. And then, of course, audiobooks, which we are about to go into, but Kindle will, or Amazon does have an audiobook program similar to the Kindle program. So, and if you're going to do audiobooks, one of the recommendations we've seen is to go to theater students or people who do community theater if you don't want to go to one of the professional voice actor sites. I'm actually going to do the reading on our audiobook, but that's just what I'm doing. But I like the idea of going to the theater students in the local theater to see if somebody wants to give it a try. So now marketing, because you can have the best book in the world, and if you don't figure out a way to tell people about it, you've just got a really awesome book all to yourself. Newsletters are really important for independent authors. And we put one out once a month. That seems to be a pretty standard cadence. That's often enough that people don't forget about you, but not so often that they're like, oh my God, another email. One way to get people to sign up for your newsletter is what's called a reader magnet. And this is usually a short story that you give away. But in return for getting the ebook short story, they give you their email. And then, of course, they can always unsubscribe and all of that. But that's how you get that's one good way to do it. And the Book Funnel, Story Origin, and Insta-Freebie are all quality websites that will facilitate giving away those reader magnets and collecting the emails for you. We use Book Funnel, and another thing that's great about it is that there are these promos that the authors on Book Funnel put together, where you get a whole bunch of books on a theme and advertise them all at once and cross-advertise with each other. So that's handy. Book trailers, something I did not know existed 9 months ago, a year ago anyway. People make like movie trailers for books. And this can be as elaborate or as simple as you want. The way we do it is we set up a PowerPoint slideshow and then we sync it to music. And then we have a video. And we post it to the social media, we put it on our YouTube page, we tell everybody about it all the time. And I have a sample of that on the next slide. For ads, Facebook ads can be effective, and well, Facebook ads can be effective for getting people to pay attention to you on Facebook. They aren't always as effective on getting people to buy your book, but it's at least a starting point. And the more people you get following you, the more people are going to see your stuff. And then you can run ads through Amazon also. The Amazon ads, how good they are can be affected a lot by your algorithm, which is affected a lot by your reviews, which we'll get to in a minute. You should work with your local library. They will help support and promote you. If there are local bookstores, they will usually let you set up a table and sign books and things like that. You can go to conventions. There's 2 basic types of conventions, especially if you're doing fantasy, sci-fi, or then your science fiction fantasy conventions are a good place. So these will have either sci-fi fantasy in the name or the tagline, or the more recent ones will have Comic-Con in them, because that's become a catch-all for a science fiction fantasy convention. And then another thing is book conferences and book fairs. And there is a book fair in Little Rock every year that we haven't been able to go to because it's been shut down for COVID since we started publishing, but we hope to next year. And so when you do those, you will have it can be called either a table or a booth that you set up. And even when they call it a booth, it's a table. And you do your promotion and your selling. And we'll have a little bit more on that in a minute. Okay, so hopefully this will show. So that is the book trailer for our free ebook that you can get online. And if you keep them under a minute, then you can put them on Instagram if they have that minute cutoff. Facebook doesn't have a time cutoff, so if you do one a little bit longer, you can still get it on Facebook.
Instagram has actually changed a little bit. They have Reels now, and they can pretty much do whatever you want.
Okay, well, that's new then.
Yeah, it's pretty new, yeah.
Oops, didn't mean to restart it. Anyway, but that's an example of a trailer. And that, like I said, we just make a PowerPoint, we sync it with music. And all the images and the music are licensed or free license. depending on where we got it from.
We paid for the music, we got free images,
But
but they're all licensed.
but do pay attention to if things need to be licensed or what the rules are on using them, because they are creative people just like us, and we don't want to take advantage of anyone.
Yeah, one caveat on the images while we're at it. Apparently there are people who will post images to these licensed sites that don't actually own the images. So be kind of careful, do some research before you do good while using some of these images. But so far I haven't actually found any that we've
Yeah,
looked into.
you hear rumors online about this practice, but just do your due diligence, go to reputable sites.
Don't the truly owned ones have like a watermark embedded?
Well, they do for the display purposes.
But the ones that you license don't, because you don't want the watermark in your video.
Yeah, it doesn't impact what I was just talking about, because wherever they get the image from, they're going to get it without a watermark. They could have a subscription someplace and download legitimately for their own use, but not have license to reuse it to resell and still post it somewhere.
Yeah, because somebody told me, like, you gotta look for the official watermark. I'm glad I'm my own illustrator. I can draw my own pictures.
So now that people are getting your book, you need reviews, and with Amazon you really need reviews, or the algorithm is going to kick you in the behind, and people who would normally be interested in your book aren't really going to see it, because it's not going to be on those you might also like lists and things like that. So one way to get reviews is ARCs, or Advanced Reader Copies. And this is where you give a free copy of the book, usually an ebook, although it's your choice. And you brand it with Advanced Reader Copy on it, and you give them to people who are going to read them and write you reviews. And you have to, part of this agreement with them is that they have to be an honest review. Hopefully you have picked people who will like it and will write good reviews. But if they found a problem with it, they should say that, because the idea is to get honest reviews. And because you want to get the ARC out ahead of publication, it's okay if you make some minor adjustments to it before you publish it, because that's part of the understanding is this is an advanced copy and there might be some minor tweaks, but hopefully you don't completely rewrite it. Because your goal with Amazon is to get as many of those reviews as possible. If not the day you publish, then within a couple of days, because Amazon wants that. Never, ever, ever pay for Amazon reviews. I am aware that there are people out there who are doing it, but if Amazon catches you at it, they will cancel your entire account, and you will not be able to sell through Amazon. And paying for reviews is anything where you give monetary value for a good review. So if you get one of those cards when you buy something from Amazon, it says, send me a photo of your 5-star review and you'll get a $25 Amazon gift card, that is against the rules. It's even iffy to say, send me a photo that you did a review. And plenty of people do it. Amazon can only catch a certain percentage, but if you're one of the ones that get caught, then you are out of luck. So just don't pay for your Amazon reviews.
There were some authors that were actually going under another name and writing good reviews about their own stuff, or having their friends come and do. They got big trouble for
another
that.
thing about Amazon is if Amazon thinks the person writing a review is related to you or in some way getting financial benefit from your book, they will pull the review. And if they think it's bad enough, they will talk to you about it. But my brother-in-law loves our books, but he can't review for us because we sometimes get like Christmas present ships to each other's houses so the kids don't see them. So Amazon knows I have a close relationship with him. So they would not be happy if he wrote a review. They wouldn't even be happy if he wrote a bad review. They just don't want You can also get reviews from book bloggers, booktubers, and bookstagrammers. And basically just go on Instagram, go on YouTube, check out book blogs, find bloggers or reviewers who do your type of book, and reach out. Now, a lot of them usually have a backlog, so reaching out a few months ahead of time is good if you've got something to send them. But that's a great way to get reviews out there. And you can also have what's called a review team, which is something that you build more as you have more books, people who have consistently done a good job reviewing for you, a good job as in actually posted the review. They can be the first people you reach out to, say, I've got a new book, you guys want to read it?
What about using services like NetGalley or something like that?
Yeah, I also, there are ARC services
Oh,
here.
wait, you're getting that, so-
Yeah, we don't use NetGalley, although it is a legitimate one. Booksprout and Book Sirens are two that we have used, and they are services that people who want to read ARCs go to, and then the service helps them get it. So you do pay the service, but you're not paying for the review, you're paying for they're facilitating people getting copies of the book. And they're not terribly expensive, and you set your own budget also. But we did get 3 or 4 reviews out of Book Sirens on the last one, so.
And probably we'll still get more. There's people who are reading the books who haven't finished yet.
But yeah, there are multiple legitimate places that will help you get art reviews. And so that brings us to meeting your audience. So this is the booth/tables, and we have set up our table the way we do it here as a demo. And I do want to say, just for the record, that this is an educational presentation. We do not have it set up to sell to you. We have it set up like we would if we were in a selling situation. Because this is a library program. We didn't rent the room to sell you books.
Oh, crack the whip.
If you're going to a convention that is more than one day, have a second tablecloth to go on top like that, so you don't have to take it down every
I
night.
just wanted to know.
Okay, so when you're thinking about your booth, remember it's a 3-dimensional space, and use all of your dimensions. And also, you are part of your booth. So think about what your author uniform is. We got shirts with our logos, that's our author uniform. Some people do like a certain color, or if it's like a science fiction convention, they might just wear nerdy shirts. That is valid as well.
You're welcome.
Yeah, you stand behind the table.
Okay, I'll stand behind you.
Okay, so be consistent with your online brand. Use your fonts, use your colors, use your imagery that you're using for all your online stuff. Be approachable. Usually there's a couple of chairs, you can sit behind the table, smile at people. You can get up and you can wander in front of your table. And say, oh, hey Mary, good to see you. You can just be approachable, be somebody that they want to come up and talk to. Practice your elevator pitch beforehand. An elevator pitch is the idea came out of business, that you got on the elevator with the president of the company and you have until he gets off the elevator to sell him on you or your idea. So 30 seconds to a minute, to a couple minutes, because you don't know how long he's going to be on the elevator. So when people come and say, oh, what's your book about? Don't be surprised. Have an elevator pitch ready. Have a way for people to sign up for your newsletter. We have that over here. We have a notepad and also a QR code where they can scan in into our. Have freebies. Everybody loves freebies. But make sure that for the most part, your freebies have a way for people to find you later. Your website. We have bookmarks for each book, and each one has a QR code that goes to the trailer for that book. So want them to be able to find you after they get home. When you have your books here to sell, it's okay to price them for more than they are on Amazon, because the people at the convention or the fair are paying to meet you. You might not think that you're worth paying to meet, but they are. They're going to be able to say, I met the author of this book. So don't go crazy, but don't think I have to keep it at the Amazon price. Always offer to sign the books. And when you price them, do it in such a way that it's really easy to make change. Multiples of 5 and 10 are really good. We didn't actually do that with one of these books, but if we put two of them together, it's $10. But you're sitting there and you don't want to have to stumble over change. Oh, and have a cash bag. And so one of the best advice I ever got was to use a fanny pack, because when I'm sitting at the table, I can have it attached to me. And nobody's going to pick up my cash box and run off with it without dragging me with it. So have your cash bag, have your change, and have a way to take online payments. Here's my Square reader. Square seems to be the most popular one, although I have seen people using card readers that are PayPal branded, and I'm sure there are other services as well. Have a bag of some sort, so that when they buy stuff, they put it in it. And it doesn't have to be fancy. You can go lots of places and get just plain plastic bags, like from Walmart, that just say like "thank you" on them. So it's up to you how fancy you go. Even if you've been promised an electrical outlet, take your charger pack, because some conventions lie. Or the person who's actually on the floor is not the person who promised that to you, and they don't know. And try to make it where people walk up, and which is why we have candy. Because people are inherently polite. I know you can tell me about one or two people who aren't, but people as a whole are. So they see the candy and they're drawn in. But then they pick up the candy and they think, I'm at this table and I'm taking the candy. I should at least look at what they have on their table. And while they're looking, then you can point out the free bookmark or the free pen, or you can say, oh, this is what this book is about. And most people will give you those couple of minutes of attention while they're there. And hopefully if they don't buy right away, hopefully they'll at least pick up something, take it home, and have it to reach out later. And of course, always business cards,